Hi, this is Rab from American Football Prep UK, and we've got a pretty cool video today. A client has sent us two footballs which they want working on, and we're going to be investigating everything that's wrong with these footballs, why they've gone wrong, and then actually bringing them back to life and fixing them. So one of these footballs is a Wilson GST Prime, which I'm pretty excited to work with. So we're going to be examining in detail and bringing them back to life. Examining the Wilson GST Prime first. So it came to us in this condition, and the bladder completely missing. No sign of life inside. The ball is unmudded, and you can tell here because the Wilson Prime features prep gauge lines, which is what those horizontal lines are there. Those are prep gauge lines. Ideally, when you break in these footballs, mud them, treat them to tack and conditioner and so on, those, as the football darkens, those lines should disappear, and that should tell you that the ball is game ready. So this ball's been under prepped and used quite a lot. Looking externally on the outside of the ball, I can see one very big nick there in the leather, and that is a proper gouge. It's possible something very sharp went in through there and pierced the bladder. The ball's clearly had a lot of use, but this is a leather Wilson football. All of these gorgeous stitching that comes with the Wilson Prime is still feeling great with lots of grip, and I think we can go a long way into bringing this ball back to life. Obviously, the steps that we're going to be doing here are we need to get a new bladder in the football, we need to get new laces on the football, and then we need to give the ball a complete makeover, a complete once over. Potentially looking at some light mudding work, but otherwise we're going to be giving conditioner, retacking, possibly some heat work too. The first thing I'm going to do with the Wilson Prime is take my hand and reach it into the football, and I'm going to run my fingers very slowly down each panel. I'm going to smooth my fingers over to see if I can find any breaks. I have already investigated this puncture, and there is no way that that puncture is coming through the ball. A very, very small thorn possibly could have pierced its way through, but there is no sign of any actual gap on the inside part here, which is great. It's exactly what you kind of hope you would see. The client has told me that these footballs have been sat for a while, and that he'd had an attempt at repairing them himself, which hadn't gone so well. So you really want to make sure that maybe laces have been cut and little bits have fallen inside. Anything that could damage a future bladder going into the football is really what we're looking for here. Give it a good shake, always good to give it a shake. If you can hear any rattling, any sound whatsoever, then there's something in there and it needs to come out. The stitching on the inside of the football should feel smooth to the touch. It's never going to feel perfectly smooth because it's two layers of thick leather that have been sewn together, but you should be able to smooth your finger all the way over it without being pricked or stabbed by anything. Once we're done with that hand examination, we can also visually inspect inside the football. We don't want to be careful not to stretch this out too much, but you can actually see quite a lot just by manoeuvring the football, opening the layers in different ways, and inspecting all the way through the football. It's feeling pretty good. It's feeling like it's not got any big problems or any issues. What we are going to do with this football is install a bladder guard. For that, we're just going to use some thick canvas. I'm going to use some double-sided adhesive and attach that to the inside of the football, and that's going to make sure that when we do insert the bladder and lace, that the bladder is going to be protected. That's the bladder guard installed nice and securely there. That's not going anywhere. That's firmly bound to the football, and that can just be held out. We can now insert the bladder into the football, and then the bladder guard can push back over. So with the bladder inserted and the nozzle pulled through, which I was able to do with my hands that time, but if you are struggling, you can always just use a pair of pliers to gently pull that through. We can now push this bladder guard back in, make sure that it's nice and smooth over the bladder, and then we can give the bladder a gentle inflate, which we'll do next. So with the ball just slightly inflated now, we can see what that bladder guard's actually doing, which is it's acting as a layer between where all of the laces are about to go in, the open hole, the main opening in the football. That lovely thick piece of canvas there is resting on top of the bladder underneath, where all of the laces are about to come across both ways and vertically, just to act as a protective layer, as well as resting underneath the lace holes. It's a protective barrier from things that might fall or otherwise stick into there. At the client's request to lace this football, we're using suede lace. These balls normally come with pebbled lacing, which you can't really see on there. You can see on the inner layer there. But as this ball's a bit more worn in, they're looking for something a bit more low profile, so we're going with single 49-inch suede lacing, and we're going to do the single lace all the way up and down the football. And if you want to see how all of that's completed, we do have a full tuition video on our channel, which is how to re-bladder and relace an American football. So head over and have a look at that video if it's something that you're not familiar with and you're curious about how it's done. We'll be back once we've got this football relaced. The football now has its laces fully installed and has been inflated again, and it is looking and feeling pretty good. It definitely still needs some work. The gouge that was in the football, which is this little blemish here now, that's all it is. What I actually did was took the edge of a tiny little card here, dabbed it in super glue, dipped it slightly into the well, and then smoothed it over with the back of the card. And that just smoothed that right back down, and that feels really flush now. Now I'm going to work over all of that. So we've not filmed every step because lots of these steps are covered in other videos, but what you can see now is we're nearly getting to this finished result. So the last few things that we've done after we've laced the football is we've actually given it a bit of a mini mud. So we've took some Lena Blackburn rubbing mud, we've mixed it with a bit of conditioner and put that onto the football, and then heat dried it and let it sit into the ball for over an hour, and then brush that into the football. And just doing that has brought a lot of colour back into the ball and also provided it just with a lot more grip. Basically the silt and the minerals in the mud have helped penetrate into the leather and just given it back a lot more grip, which was the one thing that the ball was really missing on that leather. So with the older ball, it is still quite smooth and the pebbling has sort of broken down quite a bit, but now visible pebbling is completely back on this football, whereas before it really wasn't, especially in the crucial areas, which is great to see. Those prep lines that we pointed out before, they've just about gone. And after a bit more tack and a bit more brushing, I imagine those prep lines will be completely gone. You can see the subtle colour difference just going from the lace area where we've not let anything penetrate into it to that. And this ball will continue to darken the more tack and things we put onto it and conditioner, but we've definitely brought this ball back to life quite a bit. So the last step that we're going to do, we're letting this conditioner sit on it for a little bit longer. I probably should be fingering it all over, but I am. Once it's fully dried again, we're going to add some more tack bar, and that will be it for this football. But it is feeling wonderful. And the part on the video I absolutely loved was when you first put on that conditioner after you've just brushed the mud off it, and it comes, I always start right on that logo because it comes up so beautifully. And the finished product is here, and I have got to say that this ball is worlds away from when we first started with it. So the mini mudding has had an amazing effect on the, not just the quality of the way it looks, but also the actual tactile feel of it. It's added so much to the grip and the pebbling. It's restored so much to the football. Obviously, including the new bladder and the laces, has obviously brought the ball actually back to life. But on top of that, the additional conditioning, the mix conditioning with the tacking, and then the heating, more conditioning, all of these things have just brought this ball back to an amazing quality, to be honest. I mean, is this something that you're going to want to take into a full game with, you know, if you're playing an important game? No, not necessarily. Is it something that has got a lot of life left back in it for practice, for recreation, for having fun with, and even for practicing and making it, you know, suitable for learning to play the game, for bringing new people in to play the game so that they're playing with quality goods, they're playing with that feel of leather without worrying about, you know, you're getting your best balls out. Absolutely. That's kind of what this ball's perfect for now. It's a great practice ball, a great recreation ball, but one that's still going to be able to really fly. And, you know, take care of it. Go on our channel, you'll see that we've got pre-game videos such as how to get your balls practice ready and game ready. Making sure that you've got the ball tacked up properly is also going to add lots of life to it. One of the great things about these balls with the Prime is all of the extra stitching. It means that you don't need to rely on that pebbling as much with these balls because you've got so many extra points for gripping the ball that really these balls, they can be restored and brought back to life and made good. So that was restoring this Wilson Prime, which has been an absolute pleasure to do today. I'm really looking forward to getting this back to the client and seeing their thoughts. And if you've liked this channel, this content, if you've liked what we've done here today, if you like any of our other videos, please give us a like and subscribe, and come work with more footballs with us in the future. Okay, cheers.